guys that don't know me, I'm Allie Bauch. And this is...
I'm Andrea.
But yeah, we play for the Sluggers, but like Andrea said, you guys have a handout. It's got a lot of blanks, so kind of make it your own. Take notes if you feel necessary. But I'm going to kind of take you through infield, and she's going to kind of take us through outfield. But if there's something that we didn't cover, please feel free to jump in and ask questions. We have a lot to cover, and probably going to forget something to say, so ask as many questions, or if you have if you're confused on what we're saying because I'm rambling, let me know, okay?
If you guys want to, feel free when we have them demonstrating. If you don't remember, something's written down the name of a drill and you don't remember exactly which one it was, feel free to take a video, whatever, write down notes on your sheet about which one that was. And if you have any questions about that later on, the logistics of the drill itself, go ahead and shoot us a text or email and we'll clarify that later on.
And then basically the outline of our clinic is we're going to kind of go through the fundamentals, and then start with the basics, and then we're going to get into breaking it down, and then drills to actually help you perfect the basics, and then to some competitive games to make it more challenging. Essentially that's going to be the rundown of it. Okay, are you guys ready to go? So first we're going to just get you started with basic ground balls and glove work, and just kind of starting with the basics of before the pitch is even pitched. So there's a lot of different ways we could do this, but what I did my whole career was pre-pitch, was if our pitcher is getting in the windup and they're starting, oh yeah, here we go. She's gonna be the pitcher. I'm on my toes, kind of moving, and then I take a step as she pitches, and then I'm on my toes, okay? I'm gonna talk about the hop a little bit. I don't know, are any of us trying to implement the hop?
You better raise your hand.
Okay, so I never did the hop, and I am not against it at all, because obviously successful teams do it, so I'm all for it. I don't know a lot about the hop, but I do know that if you're doing it, just be consistent with it in your practice, do it in your drills, do it in your everydays, always do it if you're doing it in the games. But basically the hop, the biggest thing is just making sure you're doing the hop when the hitter would hit the ball. Is that what you're essentially doing? Sweet. You probably know way more than I do. So, but the way I do it, I get in my stance, but the biggest thing, you don't want to get too low in your stance. So a lot of us think, oh, we got to have our glove down to the ground and touching in a position, but that's not the case. You kind of want to be athletic, ready to move side to side. So usually I'm actually shifting on my toes because I'm ready to react either way. But you never want to stay stagnant in your position on your heels. That's kind of the number one thing. Questions on that? Okay. Let's see. Feed stance. Glove position out in front. You want it literally in front of your eyes. If I'm back here, there's no way I'm going to be able to feel that. You need to get it out in front. You just also have a better way of attacking the ball that way. You want to meet the ball. You don't want the ball to meet you, essentially. Biggest thing too is having soft hands. So I'm going to get into some drills to kind of help you create soft hands. And what we did a lot in college and high school and everything, we didn't even use a glove. So to promote soft hands, if you can be one with your hand, you're gonna be a great fielder. So just some drills to help you become or have get soft hands. You can work with a tennis ball, kind of go through your everydays with one hand. So if I could get 2 girls, lovely volunteers, to come out here. Come on out.
Jump on out.
You don't need your glove. So if you guys could just face each other, kneeling. And then we usually you start off with a tennis ball or a baseball, and you just start rolling into each other with your hand behind your back, promoting soft hands. Yes. Nice. And then eventually you can go into forehands, and then also backhands. But this is just a great way to kind of just get yourself warmed up with fielding without even picking up a glove. So a lot of times, I would spend literally 45 minutes without even a glove on with fielding. Just because if you can field without a glove, you're going to be pretty dang good with a glove on.
Something that I think is really important too to stress to the girls as you're doing stuff like this, because especially at the younger level too, when they want to do all the fun stuff, and then as you get older as well, they think that this is something that they can ignore. It's something that they don't need to spend time on. I know Allie and I were discussing, we did stuff like this with no glove, smaller balls, working on the basics in every single practice we did in college, and I know that you guys did too. So it's something that is emphasized all the way up through the college level at the highest level, and that can't be ignored when we're actually learning this fundamentally. And so I know that's a tough thing for girls to try to understand when you're saying, okay, we have to spend X amount of time working on just rolling, and they think it's the boring stuff. But it's super, super important to stress to the girls that this is the most important thing that they need to start with.
Exactly. Like a lot of times, like as an infielder and us girls, like we want to just hit me ground balls. I just want ground balls. I use that so much to ask for. But this actually, like, it makes ground balls so much easier. So, so then you can also do this with baseballs. You can even do it with softballs as well. So you have like the baseballs you could do it with, kind of make it a progression. So you can start with tennis balls, then eventually work your way to baseballs, and then get to even bigger softballs. Softballs are going to be harder because it's bigger, but these two girls have written very nice hands, as you can see.
We make it.
Good. But yeah, you eventually then can do it forehands, and then you can work on backhands again with no glove. Then you could also, like those were slow rollers. A little bit more advanced is doing short hops as well. So trying to do short hops with no glove. It is a little bit more challenging, but again, it's promoting soft hands and kind of absorbing that ball with our hands. Okay, so that's something with just everydays. I don't even think like everydays you should even use with a glove. Like I think it's just a great way to just kind of get your glove work without the glove actually. Another drill, again with no glove, is side-to-side drill. We did this one actually a lot. So can I get...
It's like 2 new people.
Yes. Even 3. I'll take 3. No glove. One more.
Yeah. So you want them across this?
Yeah, so there's going on.
Come across this. So.
Okay, let's have 2 girls right here. Okay, you're going to be the one that's fielding. Okay, so essentially they're going to be like 10 feet apart, so they're a little bit close, but for lack of space. And you're just going to go side to side. Okay, so you're here, and you're going to, I'm not going to do it, you're going to do it, but you're going to stay low, and then you're going to shuffle to the next one and stay low. And essentially what happens is you do the drill for like 30 seconds to a minute, and then kind of see how many reps you can get. You should be tired at the end, but it's a great way to, again, get glove work as well as it's endurance too. So
I think
have this stamina.
I think it's super important that you need to see that the girls are actually getting something out of this, and like Allie said, they should be tired by the end of it, because if they are staying in the proper position and staying down here, moving this low isn't easy for a prolonged period of time. If they're up here and they're just kind of going like this, they're not going to get as tired as quickly, where if they're staying low the entire time and moving side to side, it should be a difficult drill, especially if they haven't done anything like it before.
Yeah, so they should be huffing and puffing. So yes. All right, let's see it. Okay, so you're going to roll it, and then you're going to roll it back, and then you're going to, yeah. Good. So again, for this, like drill after a while, it's really easy to go like this, because then your legs are getting tired. But again, we want to feel the burn in our legs, because when you're fielding, you want to bend with your legs and not your back. So again, this is a great kind of way to bring that up as well. Your legs should be burning and not your back after this drill. And like after some time, you can spread out even more, and then you can actually do a real ball with a glove and like challenge them even more.
And this is something it's really easy to look for things too, because they're pretty much stripped down, no glove, anything. So you can see if they're coming over here and they're kind of getting into more of this, right? Like I said, as they're bending more at the back, that's easier to do. So if their hand is fielding between their legs, that's a lot easier to see with this. if they're not coming all the way out here and looking the ball in, if they're just kind of coming through here and doing one of these and the heads up, those are things that you can pick up on, and it's going to be a lot easier to correct in here when they can just go side to side and work on this versus when you're hitting them ground balls, trying to go back and forth and pick up those things. So you can really see, like I said, this is one of the biggest things where the hand is back here when they're taking it and then not looking the ball all the way in, where they're just kind of sticking it down and kind of tracking it from out here. So 2 things to keep your eye on is making sure that they're looking it all the way in, and like Allie said at the very start, keeping the glove out in front.
Thanks, girls.
Good job.
Questions so far? Yeah, you can make it. Yeah.
One thing we saw at the last clinic we went to, and they had pictures of the difference between how women have been trained over the years and how men have. We've always talked about glove foot forward, and when you have the glove foot forward to field, your glove hand is going to be on the shoulder side. And a lot of the pictures that you see of the college women fielding is with the hands together in the center, like this. And one of the coaches said that, when you're doing that, you're flexing. And when you're flexing, you're slower. So it's much better to field it on the side than it is right in the middle when you get to actually going through the grounders of the progression. So I thought that was interesting. You can, and they had pictures of people doing it this way. All the major leaguers were like this, and they had a couple of pictures of college level like that. And if you do it, you can feel that you're flexing to come in like that. It's not as natural as off this side.
Yeah, very good point. Forgot her tape, sorry. Any questions so far? Good. Okay, so moving on to like throwing and catching tennis balls with partners. Again, no glove. So you could get with a partner. This could be part of your everydays as well. And you're literally just tossing the tennis ball back and forth with your glove hand. Just being able to like react to different types of balls with soft hands. So that's a really good drill as well. And then this one's not on your sheets, so I think this one's kind of cool though. But basically what a coach could do is bring a tennis racket to practice and like literally hit the tennis balls at their players with gloves on because that would be very dangerous. So you put the gloves on and then you just hit the tennis ball wherever and they're just reacting based on where it's hit. So I really like that one a lot. Questions? Okay, and then moving on to, I wrote corners and middles hit to each other. So basically a lot of what I did in college was like just using each other to get better. So like I was always paired with my shortstop and we literally did all these drills. Like you coaches could be just watching or like evaluating. You don't need to be doing the drills with them or throwing the balls. They could just be doing this to each other. So like just having them roll ground balls to each other at their position or just kind of giving them more ownership and then more responsibility really helps as well. So I really recommend doing that.
We've started to get into with our team as well is actually having them try to hit ground balls to each other at practice. I know we had our hitting clinic a couple weeks ago, but that's a skill that you'll find that a lot of girls can't do. They can't toss up a ball and hit it and decide what type of hit they're going to do. It just kind of goes wherever if they do hit it. So forcing them to be able to track the ball out of their hand and hit a hard ground ball at a target not only benefits their hitting, but then, like Allie was saying, it lets you look and actually coach versus having to actually hit the ground ball. So there are going to be times where you're going to want to hit them harder, kind of get through it and stuff, but if you have the time and want to pair people up and have them hitting to each other, it's going to really benefit their hitting and their fielding, and then you can actually step back and do a little bit of coaching.
Yeah, and then going off that, you can even make it competitive. So like you're hitting to your partner and then it's like best out of 5. So you as a person want to hit it hard so that you win, but so you're challenging your partner, but then also like it has to be reasonable. But it's always fun to make things competitive at the end, so you can always throw that in there as well. Okay, moving on to footwork. Okay. Oh shoot, yeah. My favorite drill, I forgot that. 7-minute drill or knockout. So we did 7-minute drill with Coach Hill, and it was like one of my favorite all-time drills. Basically, like we would do it at the end of practice, and then it was survivor mode. You had 7 minutes. Someone needs to be standing there fielding a ground ball after 7 minutes, essentially. So you're hitting balls after balls, And if you make an error or you boot one, you're out. And then usually if you got out, you had a run on the sideline. So you had like 12 girls to start with. If you made an error, it kind of is like slowly dwindling down. But it was really cool when you had like the one girl left and like the whole team's like,
Or
come
2 or
on,
3 and
you got
everyone's
it. Like,
cheering them through it.
yeah, it's really cool. It's an awesome drill to end practice with. So, and if you don't make it, if no one's left standing at 7 minutes, make them run.
Just keep running.
Make them do push-ups. Okay, that's a really fun one. Or knockout drill, which is like a kind of version of it, but it's like knockout. So if you boot it, you're out, and then the last one standing is the winner. But the 7-minute drill is more like a team. So you're working as a unit, and like everyone's kind of there to try to last 7
Standing in
minutes. Okay, questions? All right, so footwork. So there's like a lot of different, I guess, ways of doing footwork. There's the scissor step, which is the one where you're usually like short stop, long throw to first. You have to kind of use your whole body and get through. Now the biggest thing with the scissor step is making sure that like our inside of our foot is facing where we're throwing, and we're not coming out like this, because then that's forcing us to open up way too early. So if I'm actually showing my inside of my foot as I bring it across, that's forcing me to stay closed through the whole thing, and then helps you get a more accurate throw.
That's something we looked at a couple videos in slow-mo, and that's one really, really huge thing that we saw, was that if my target is straight ahead here, they would be fielding it from here and then stepping that foot straight here, which I'm just re-emphasizing what she was just saying, puts me in a totally open position, and then I have no power to push behind here, versus getting in an open position, putting the power on my back leg, and staying open with drive. So we saw them, it's sort of instinctual, and at a hurry you would want to think I want to step right at it, but you really want to emphasize with the girls as they're coming through, they're pushing the inside of that foot, not the front.
And the nice thing about that, it's super easy to point out. Like you just look at their feet, and it's kind of clear if they're doing it right or wrong. So it's kind of a nice thing to look for. There's also like I played second base, so I didn't really do the scissor step. I did more of like a quick shuffle. So like I just wanted to get rid of it, and I don't really have much ground to cover, so mine was more here, like that. Now, this just reminds me of your coach. Some people say like you should click your heels, but don't do that. You don't want to like gallop there. You could trip yourself. So it's more just like a quick shuffle and staying low. So I'm not crossing over, but I'm still quick and covering some ground.
And that's going to depend too. I'm just going to add a little
Yeah.
bit. We were discussing this. There, I guess, has been like some debate over whether the scissor step is the most efficient, if it's the quickest way to get the ball out. And like I said, we were kind of joking about it. My high school coach always said, you want to click the heels. You don't want to take these big, long steps coming through with the scissor. And we were saying that it's going to be very individualized with your girls. Because if somebody doesn't have the arm strength to get the ball all the way there on a hard line, we're going to want them to recruit those leg muscles and get a big scissor step to use as much of their body as possible. But if you have somebody who has a really quick arm and they have a shorter throw, something like that, getting that quick shuffle is going to work just fine for them. So if you're hearing anything about whether the scissor is right or wrong, or if it's outdated or anything like that, it's going to be totally dependent on what's going to work best for the individual girl who's throwing the ball.
And then moving on to footwork again, like with the backdrop step. So just because you're an infielder doesn't mean you're not going to have to go back on a fly ball. You're going to have to get those kind of in between fly balls as well. So just kind of reiterating, when you're doing that backdrop step, you want to be hard and fast and low to create as much ground as possible. So you want to be powerful in that step off the bat so that you can create as much ground as possible. Also, a big tool in softball is the wrong foot throw. So you want to make sure you actually practice that in practice, because it's something that like you don't even think about, but it comes up a lot. So being able to do a wrong foot throw makes you way more dynamic, yeah. And it's used a lot in the game, so make sure you're practicing that as well. So wrong foot throw is when you're getting it and you're throwing off the wrong foot. Do we have any questions on the wrong foot throw?
If you want to do that, just show it like one more time.
Yeah,
Just a little bit slower.
Yeah. Okay. So that allows me to get rid of the ball quicker rather than taking that extra step. So it'll benefit you a lot in the game. So like going home on slow rollers to home, that's a wrong foot throw. Or a shortstop coming across on a slapper, that's a wrong foot throw. There's lots of times you use a wrong foot throw. So making sure that the girls know how to do it is very important.
I would emphasize when you're teaching this, especially for some of the younger ones and those who have never done it before, what I see a lot, and especially when we were learning it too, since it is a super unnatural feeling the first couple of times, I would show them the steps of how to do it. And then if they're still getting tripped up, I would say the two biggest things with that would be not slowing down, because that's the point of throwing off the wrong foot. You want to get rid of it as quickly as possible. So just tell them to keep going and don't think about it as much,
Yeah.
because the footwork can get really confusing and trip them up a little bit, especially like I said, if they've never done it. So if they're really struggling to get it, I would tell them just keep moving and try not to think about it. Just after you've shown them the steps.
Literally just start running and then throw it. Like, because then you don't want them thinking, oh, I'm not the wrong foot. I gotta get there.
Because then it's going to do the exact opposite of what
Yeah.
you want it to do. So
Exactly. Okay, so some drills for footwork that I think can really come in handy. The first one says around the garbage can. So this is one that's like, seems really silly, but it's super helpful. So when you're fielding a ground ball, you want to kind of come at it this way at an angle. I don't know about you girls, but I feel like a ball right at me is usually the hardest one to field. You guys agree?
Yes.
The ones right at me, I'm like, I can't see the hop. I don't know the angle. Is this going to be like at my face? It's hard to see. So by taking that angle and getting around it this way, and you're coming at it this way, you can see the ball a lot better. So just a simple way of incorporating that is putting out a garbage can at each position. They start behind the garbage can, and then at the crack of the bat, they come around the garbage can and field the ball. Do we want to do that?
I was going to say we can, let's go to another one.
Who wants to do that one?
Do you want something
I can do
first?
it.
Okay, so which way do you think you're going to go on the garbage can? That is good. So make sure they're not going the other way, that they're coming around it and then taking the angle across. Okay? Ready? So it forces her to just take that extra step that way. Do you see that? Again, you don't. It doesn't have to be a garbage can. That's what we used, but it could be a bucket. It could be anything. But super kind of simple way of doing that. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
So that's kind of revisiting what we were talking about with the glove position at the beginning. So with them coming around, that again avoids them getting in this kind of position right in the middle. Because again, like we were just saying, this is the ones that should be the easiest ones that end up going right between their legs under their gloves, where they're just kind of sitting like this and it goes straight in between. So if they're coming in on an angle, it becomes a lot easier to get in that sort of triangle position with the arm sort of resting here and being able to just scoop and go versus kind of coming straight up to it, going like this, and then it's coming straight underneath the glove between the legs.
Yes. Okay, so another drill to kind of promote that too is the cone drill. And I think this is from Hofstra, which is super cool. But essentially you have a ball here in this one, and then you're going around the cone. So you actually have to use your feet, and then you can throw it into a net, and then again. So it's a dramatic way of making you get around the ball, but again, it's all about footwork. So, yeah. Not a breath.
Out of shape.
So again, if you are incorporating the hop, you should do the hop in this drill as well. Oh, shoot. Okay, now when you're doing that, it's really important to kind of stay low and make sure the girls are going all out on it. I'm out of breath. It's really embarrassing, but you should be out of breath, like going through reps. You want to make it as game-like as possible, or like don't even do the drill. Because if you're just running around the cone like this, that's not going to get you anywhere. Make it worth your time. Oh my gosh. Another drill for feet is the ladder to fielding a ground ball. So I don't know if we've done. Do we have a ladder? I don't think we have one. You guys know what a ladder is. So you can pick kind of like a move to do on your ladder. The shuffle, whatever, side to side. Lots of different footwork drills, and then into fielding a ground ball. So like footwork's like one of the most important things to fielding. You don't have good feet or quick feet. I don't know. It just makes you a lot better infielder. So for this drill, pretend there's a ladder and you're doing a move into the ball.
So she's going to be going up the ladder, and then once she gets right here, they're going to roll it to her. And you're supposed to come through the ball, like, yeah, and we've done it. So she's going to be moving her feet really quickly, and then as she gets to the end here, then she's going to keep on moving through, and then toss. So.
And again, you can like mix up the moves. So you can even do hops, like mix it up, make it fun for the girls. But again, make sure they're going hard too. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Okay, reaction drill. Again, good for your feet. Have you guys heard of softball tennis? My favorite too. I love softball tennis. But again, that one, like, it's also, let's first explain it. So basically it's like tennis, but softball version. You're like in a mini court. I don't know the dimensions. Do you know?
We always guys.
Whatever
You
you
just kind
want.
of drew them out with the chalk.
Yeah, you make like a little tennis court, and so it's like 2 squares, and you have 1 girl on each line. And essentially, they're battling against each other. Now, the thing that kind of makes the game is you have to throw it on your side of the square. So like if I'm like going at coaches over there, I have to throw it on before my line. I'm doing a terrible job at explaining this right now because I just played. But yeah, essentially it's just a good drill for reaction. And you also get to see your competitors. Like, do I have girls diving everywhere at the balls, or do I have girls like, that's gonna be a short hop, I'm gonna let it go. It's really cool to see like the competitors in that one. It makes it fun.
Yeah. So they're throwing the balls at each other. That's like the...
Yeah, like you're whipping it. So you're literally like chucking it at them, and like the balls can go anywhere, but it has to stay inbound.
And it has to bounce.
And it has to bounce before your line. And then from there on, it's whatever, you know?
Does that make sense?
Survivor of the fittest.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So that's a really good one for like footwork, reaction. You kind of have to move your feet to get to the ball. Make it work. You're not going to look pretty every time doing it, but you make it work.
Stop the ball.
That's right. I don't think this is on there. The next 2, I don't know the sheet that you guys have, but are you guys done with the footwork drills?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 2 more that I just added. One's called 3-ball drill. So basically, a coach or even a player has 3 balls in their hand, and a girl's gonna stand out there, and that coach could throw anything. It could be a grounder, a pop-up, grounded over their, or like a pop-up over their head, a grounder to the right, like it could be anything, and the girl just has to react to it. So softball's a game of reaction, so just being able to, I don't know, react to the ball is important. So do we want to demonstrate that? Or do you guys get the point?
Can you demo that?
Yeah, let's demo it. Who wants to be who hasn't gone? Okay. So I'm gonna have 3 balls in my hand. You're gonna stand out there a little bit. And it could be anything. You don't know what you're gonna get, and you just make it work. Okay? And then you go ahead and give it a thumbs back. And then reset. And you obviously try to get 3 for 3, but you don't know obviously. Ooh, that was a challenging one. Sorry. just also see their first step. Like, what's their first step look like? Am I going back? Am I jumping? Am I shuffling? Like, it's a good way to see how they're reacting. Because in a game, you don't know what ball you're going to get hit, so that's a great way to see that. And then the last one is a football shuffle, and then you hit the deck and you get up and field the ball. So you're here, again, you're shuffling, the coach or your player says, okay, hit, you're down, and you're up, and then you field the ball. So that's a good one too, just reacting, making it work. Do we want to show that one? Yeah, we do. Who wants to do it?
Just pick one of them.
I don't know names.
Just point.
I got one.
Okay. So you're shuffling until I say hit. Hit the deck and come up. No. Right there. Okay. Shuffle. Hit. And they're up. Yeah. Okay. So that's just good for feet as well. Questions on footwork? Anything I didn't cover, or you have a question about it? No. Okay. Throwing, okay? Because what's a game without throwing, okay? So there's a lot of different types of throwing, like throws. Throwing? What types? I don't know. I'm a math teacher. You have your backhand, your dart, your forehand, glove to glove, underhand, rock and fire. So there's a bunch of different types of throws. And we're gonna kind of take you through each one, because maybe, like sometimes you just have to go back to the basics, okay? So your backhand, that's gonna be the one where you're here and you're like literally backhanding it. Now, I have a question. Do we think we want wrist snap on a backhand or no? What do we think? What are our thoughts on that?
Who thinks yes, wrist snap? Show of hands.
Who
No
thinks
wrist snap.
No wrist snap. Okay, I agree. So no wrist snap on your backhand. Like, so a lot of times when girls are warming up with backhand, you see them do the wrist snap because that's easier, right? You just snap your wrist. You've always been taught to snap your wrist. But on a backhand, that kind of makes it for like a wild throw. You don't know where that's gonna go. And on a backhand, usually it's a quick like that. Like your double play balls up the middle. You don't need the wrist snap. Okay, so that's kind of my biggest point of emphasization on that. So,
And with the pitchers too. I pitched for a very long time. With all these, it's very tempting for me, especially with the underhand, the dart really hard, and then the backhand. We're always taught more wrist snap, more spin, more spin. With this kind of things, like you said, it's super important that you tell them that it is more of a quick push and release, especially because when we are doing these, it's a quick situation. We're usually going to be about 10, 15 feet away, and they don't need a snap because if I'm out here and I'm already in this position and I'm trying to toss right here, if I snap it, it's gonna, like you said, it's gonna end up carrying off this way. Or if I snap it straight at them, it's gonna be more of a quick reaction that obviously the person on the receiving end doesn't want. So especially with pitchers and then some people who are just trying to, thinking they're getting rid of it better and more quickly with the extra snap, really emphasize that it is just more of a lead with the elbow, push and release.
just for backhand tosses, like you really shouldn't use a backhand further than like here. So you don't need snap to get it there. If you're farther than that, okay, then we're using a dart. Also, something else that you shouldn't have spin on is the underhand. Again, pitchers, you're going to want to wrist snap it in. But again, that's hard when you're a receiver and someone's coming in hot and they snap it at you. That's hard to receive. So then you kind of want the no spin to give them, I don't know, something easier to work with. So do you want to demonstrate?
Yeah.
So usually those are like balls to the plate, bunts to the plate when you have a play at home.
So it would be more like this. And then the tough thing too, if they think that they're not snapping it, when they do try to push, a lot of times it'll come out kind of like that, which is also not what on. And then they say, oh, I'm pushing it and I didn't have the spin on it. But you want to keep that stiff wrist and a forceful on a line still, but it doesn't have to be where they, because the other thing too is a lot of times with the snap, they tend to wind up and snap here. They tend to wind up a little bit, which not only takes more time, but then also is more likely to be a wild ball coming up. So really emphasize that when they field it, again, because it is supposed to be a quick throw, that from the second that they field it, up and right here. And still, like we were saying before too, keeping it moving, keeping it going with those quick plays. We shouldn't have to think about it as much, but as they're learning it, they do have to think about it a little bit, right? So you want to emphasize, keep the body moving and straight to your target.
And like even after you throw it, like you should still be taking a couple steps after. Like your body should not be able to just stop from the momentum that you have. Like make sure you're going into it, moving with everything you have, and then actually when you release, you're still having to kind of take a couple steps to slow move. Another big thing too, because the underhand can be kind of intense sometimes, making sure to show the ball to your receiver is very important. Bringing it behind here, you lose track of the ball and where did it go. So you actually like show it in your glove and then go from there.
On the receiving end with these quick throws as well, it's very important, and we'll get into these with some of the drills too, but it's very important that the person who is receiving it not only is ready, but they're calling for the ball. Because a lot of times with these bang bang plays, there might not be a chance that we're gonna get this person and they're not seeing it straight away. And if there is a play somewhere else, they need to be hearing that elsewhere. But if there is a play at the plate or wherever they're going, the person who's receiving it needs to be calling loud for the ball. That throw knows that they're ready to receive it.
Yes. Another type of throw is glove to glove. So who can give me a time in a game when we use glove to glove?
When you're like running really like up the middle for a up the middle ground ball and you're really close to second base and you have to flip it fast.
Okay, that's a good one. Anyone else? Fast runner, you got to get rid of it quickly. Yes. So I agree. Glove to glove is on those quick plays. But the biggest thing about glove to glove, it can be very inaccurate if you don't know how to do it correctly. So a lot of times you see glove to glove balls go way up high because we're kind of releasing it ball up high. So when you're doing glove to glove, you actually don't want to bring it up here. You want it's more of like a push at your target. So you're like pushing it where you want it to go. If you bring it up, that ball's going to go up. If you bring it down, that ball's going to go down. Where you bring your glove is where the ball's going to go.
The other thing I see with this a lot too, a little bit with the push, is that they hold the glove too tight, and then when they try to let go, it ends up getting kind of stuck in that pocket, and then they try to just open it up and push, and it's still kind of getting stuck in the glove and almost shooting up like that. So having it really light in here, having it really light in here and just taking a step and sort of popping it out that way versus really burying it deep in that glove. If they can almost sort of like loosen the hand up a little bit and then go from there, it's going to be a lot easier than if they have like a death grip on the ball and they're trying to push and open the glove up.
And going off of that, like making sure your chest is down when you're throwing it too. The biggest thing we want to do is bring our chest up, but if we bring our chest up, the ball goes up with us. So when you're doing these, kind of keeping your chest down, the ball's less likely to go up in the sky. Questions on glove to glove? Glove to glove is kind of, I think, the most challenging one because, I don't know, a lot's going on. You're usually working with your hand, and now you're throwing with your glove. It's different for the girls, so just make sure you emphasize those main points that we talked about. And then we have the rock and fire. So that's the one where you're at second base and you're deep in the hole, and then you have to kind of rock and fire to first base. So there's a lot of components to a rock and fire. It's not just a sidearm. It's not just kind of a low sidearm, you're gonna throw your shoulder out that way, but it's actually getting low and you're actually bent over. What I remember from Coach Hill is what actually really stuck with me is like you're literally throwing here and then you're bending down. And you're keeping the same, I guess, path with your throw down here, but you're just now bent over. And the biggest thing too is making sure you rock back on your back foot and then explode forward. So the biggest mistake that girls make with rock and fires is coming up. So they bring their body up and open up their chest, and it ends up just being a sidearm. So make sure that they're getting their chest down to the ground, they're rocking, and that actually like the path of their arm is down here and not up here too. So rock and fire is a pretty hard throw, I think, to master, but if you work on it and you emphasize the right things, it can be done. So there's a couple drills, that we have. to help you work on these.
I'm gonna need all you guys.
The first one is the zigzag drill, and that's one is with rock and fire. And this is something that could be done after like their throwing warm up, and it actually looks really, really cool if you know what you're doing. And they're gonna demonstrate that.
Okay, so the point of this drill, and we'll have them demonstrated too. Yeah? We haven't done. We've done this before. So this drill is to help with these quick short throws. So one line is going to be doing the rock and fire. One line is going to be doing a dart throw. And what you want to see with this drill is that when they get really good at it, it should look like one ball traveling back and forth. So what we're going to do with this is that one line, come on, spread out, get some space. So you're going to have one girl is going to start with all the balls, if you want like 10 or so, and she's going to be starting off. So she's going to fire down to one person, and then they're going to fire back. Then she's going to pick up the next ball and start throwing again. So they're going to be in like a zigzag sort of pattern. And then, like I said, one line is going to be doing a rock and fire. The other line is going to be turning and doing a dart throw. So then they're just going to keep on picking up until they're out of balls, and they should be traveling back and forth almost as one. So this line here is going to be doing a rock and fire. So you guys are going to be here, blow, and snap to this person. Person on this line is going to be grabbing it right from here, turning and making a quick dart throw. And then coming through on the way back, they're gonna flip and do the other throw. So we'll go about 5 balls. Yeah, I'm all talking. So then once she gets it here, then she's gonna throw her, and then you're gonna watch her throw and start as she goes. Okay? And go. Off the ball. Yep. And then, like I said, they're going to come back, and then they can go ahead and switch the direction of whichever throw they're doing. So something that we like to do with that one is, again, making sure that they're staying in sync with their throws, calling really loud for the ball, and then monitoring drops as well. So we always want to make sure that with these quick throws, like I said, these are going to be the super important critical outs that can make differences in games. The really quick runners that we're letting out all the time, stuff like that. So the most common thing that we see, and I'm sure we've all seen in these games, is that when they're in a situation where they have to make a quick play like this, the throw gets launched, right? Or spiked into the ground, or the person isn't ready for it. So this kind of thing makes a huge difference, where if you really penalize drops with push-ups, laps, whatever, making sure that they're making crisp, clean, quick, effective throws can be the difference between safe or out, and then can make a difference in a game ultimately. Thank you, girls.
Also, just a question for you guys. Did you guys have any observations from that drill? Did we notice anything about their rock and fires or any? What do we think?
A few of them were bent over, but
A few of them are standing up. Yes, so that's going to be the biggest thing, because this is uncomfortable. So you're going to see a lot of girls start standing up here and then start to just kind of sidearm it. Okay, so really make sure you emphasize getting below. Like, you can even put your arm over there like this and make them get below with that. Because I saw every single girl come up at one point. Okay, so just make sure. Oh yeah. So like for bunts, if you're picking up a bunt and I'm here, we can use the rock and fire for that. So it's not just for fielding ground balls. Are we doing it again?
So we're going to do it again, because not enough people were staying low. So we re-emphasize with that. We're going to see if we can make the adjustment. So they're going to be starting from down at the other end. And again, we want to be completely bent so that it's not going to be much stress on our shoulders up and down here. And then you take that here. Louder across the ball, too. Get that little leg under your head. All right? Go.
So like just another thing about this too, like girls will think that they're getting low because they're bending their knees, but I'm still kind of, my chest is still up, so make sure their chest is down actually. So that's kind of a common mistake too. You don't want gymmed in on my face.
So you may have to go backwards because you could see there they need to slow down and just make sure, even if it's slow motion, staying here. Because once you do this on a blunt, that runner's going to be safe.
So we were discussing too that a way to fix that, if they're still not staying low enough when they're going with the throws because they might be getting it up here and then just coming right from here, would be having them put it on the ground, start from square run right here, just in place, have them on the line just like they are, stand and collect it from here and fire straight out of that stance versus getting the ball from up here and then trying to bend and go, so that they can start right here, be forced to bend at the waist and the knees right here, pick up, and stay low that whole time.
So like a lot of rock and fire right now, I know. But something I don't know if you just said this, but to break it down instead of doing something like that, just putting the ball in front of them. Oh. Never mind. Still on my okay. The next one was. Oh yeah, so the rhythm drill.
Yeah. 4 people.
Okay, so this is what we call the rhythm drill. This is like a chance to work on forehands, backhands, underhand, glove to glove, darts. Usually what we would do is start with darts, then you can go into underhand, you can make it one throw, and then eventually you can make it more advanced and mix in a bunch of different throws. So we're gonna kind of show you like how to go through it, but this one's a really good one. Look at it. And that one's
Okay.
so
a couple key
as you
things.
can see, it takes a while to kind of get the idea of it, but once you have it down and you know like where you're going with the ball, it's a pretty nice and effective drill. So things that we did was like we had to get up to 100 in a row before we could move on to the next throw. So you would count them out until you got to 100 without dropping. And then
So I'm going to pause real quick. So something that we can see with the dart throw, again, that we see a lot in a game, is with snapping the wrist or as they're going. So you guys with this drill, what I love about this is that they stay running the whole time because that's going to be more of a game-like situation. So something with the dart throw is that most of the time you are going to be running, and since my momentum is carrying me in this direction already, I don't hardly have to do anything. I just kind of have to release the ball. Whereas if I'm running, so this is something that would be used like in a rundown a lot. So if I'm already running at you, I don't have to crank back and go right here because then I'm going to launch it at her. So I'm already coming forward, so that's why I love this drill because they are running. So then you can see when you actually do crank back and do snap it, you see how quickly that comes off to the partner. So as they're going, you can really get the feel for how it is just to kind of release that ball versus really coming back.
So then like you can work on different throws with this. So you can go into underhand, glove to glove, using the same format. So it's a good drill.
We started off by like counting to a certain number just to get the repetitions in, but then sometimes we would have the coaches or somebody in there would be calling out a different throw.
Yeah, like
just to
right
get a
now.
couple in. So we'd start off with the dart and then someone would call out backhand or somebody would call off glove to glove or something like that just so we can be on the toes all the time, not kind of falling in to the same repetitive pattern.
Mm-hmm. And then again, to make it competitive, we had to get to 100 or we did not move on. So, yeah. Do we want to show different throws with it? Or
Does anybody want to say that with a different throw or we're going to move on from here? Good.
Cool. Thanks, girls.
Okay. We need 4 to stay out here.
Okay, so the next one is the 10-30-60.
We're going to...
This is going to be the one where you start in like a little square and then you make your way out. I feel like most of us have done that, maybe, but we'll still show what it looks like.
So just go around the light here, okay? Okay, so this drill, we're going to have one person at each corner. So we'd have someone at home and then set out the cones here like this. So what they're gonna do, the person at home is gonna start off with the ball, and they're gonna do a quick 4 corners here. So depending on if they're righty or lefty, most of the time it's gonna be a quick underhand. And then once you catch and throw the ball, they're gonna sprint back to the next cone. So we have it at 10 feet, 30 feet, and then 60 feet. So once they get the ball, so she's gonna start up at home. Once she tosses it here, she's gonna get it, make a quick toss, and then sprint back to the next cone. And this is an all-out sprint with this one. So it's gonna be quick around, and then back up, and then it has to be a little bit longer throw, and then it has to be a base throw. So what we like to do with this one to make it competitive after they've done it is we time them from the time it leaves this person's glove to the time it hits their glove at the very end. And then see what they got, call it out, have the next group go, see if they can beat it. So again, this forces them to sprint and make quick throws and make accurate throws, because if they make an error, if somebody doesn't pick it, if somebody doesn't make a good throw, we don't stop the clock. So if they spend 10 seconds chasing the ball out in the middle of nowhere, that's 10 seconds added onto their time. So this is a really good one to get within the team, kind of getting that inter-squad competition going a little bit, trying to beat each other and make each other better. Okay, so yeah, if we need to back up and modify our scores a little bit because of the equipment, that's just fine. So we all good with this? So she's gonna toss to you. You're gonna toss her, and then you're gonna sprint back, sprint back, sprint back.
Ball.
Pushing out that bait. Good.
Right here, ball.
And then we stop the time on that.
So for these drills, like the cool thing is like once you get pretty advanced with it, it's like the little things that make a difference. So like your footwork, your throw, where you throw the ball, like that makes a difference in your time. So that can count like literally a half a second, but that a half a second is a lot in softball. So like footwork around the bag is important on these. Quick feet here, everything is important when you're doing this drill.
I don't know if you guys saw Jordan's feet at second base coming to the ball and moving around very quickly, super efficient, really smooth into that. The other thing, like we said too, that we had discovered to shave a second or couple milliseconds off the time is leading the person into the next throw. So obviously step one is going to be getting them to make accurate throws in the first place so they can do it. But then, like I said, when we get down to the really fine details, if I'm receiving it here, I want to lead her to the next base. So instead of throwing it either on the opposite side or straight to her square, you want to start getting that little tiny lead into the next base so they can make a really quick transition to throwing.
Any questions on throwing? Okay, so then we have balls in the air. Like I said earlier, you don't just get grounders as an infielder. Me and Andrea were actually talking, like usually infielders do not get enough practice on pop-ups because we don't think that happens, but then it does, and then we're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So make sure you're giving your girls practice on pop-ups or fly balls, going back on the ball, throw them in the outfield, get that experience. But I'm gonna kind of just take you through the footwork. It's kind of the same in the outfield. Again, you're drop stepping, you're crossing over, and then you're all out sprinting to the ball. And then when you're sprinting to the ball, the biggest thing is not tucking our glove and running like a dinosaur. Kind of just really getting out there nice and long like you would sprint normally without a glove on. Also, communication with your outfield is important with this. So like before every single pitch when I played, I was talking to my outfield, like knowing where they were at. If I saw they were deep, I know I could go further deep on the ball. Or if they're in, I know that, okay, on a ball behind me, they're probably gonna get that. Just having that communication with them is really important. As well as relaying signs. So we're gonna talk about relaying signs for a sec, because I know maybe some of us don't, some of us do. But I do think that relaying signs is really important, just so that the outfield's getting that the sign as well, and having a chance to get ahead and maybe make that step in the right direction. Me and Andrea were talking, like usually you're not going to be right 100% of the time, but you will like 80% of the time, and so it's so worth it to know what pitch is coming, especially as you get older and pitchers become better at hitting their spots and stuff like that. You can add something.
Yeah, we were discussing that too. This comes in a lot of times too with the girls knowing their pitchers a little bit. So regardless, it never hurts to know the signs. So let's say you have a pitcher, and we would hope not with our team. So let's say you have a pitcher who's not super consistent with hitting her spots, and you might not want to take a 10-foot cheat in the infield or the outfield because you're not exactly sure if she's going to hit that spot or not. But again, even if you're not making that shift, it's still good to know what pitch is coming, because then you have more of a mindset of, okay, well now I know that if I'm in left field, if it's a right-handed batter and she's going inside, okay, I may not get that big cheat, but I know that this ball has a better shot at coming to me than something that's going to be soft and away, right? So just having them be in the know, and then that too also keeps them more alert and in the game. It gives them, a lot of times and I'll get to this in outfield too, but a lot of times in the outfield, if it's a blowout game or you have a really dominant pitcher or something, sometimes they just get bored out there, they're kind of just standing around. So having that sort of communication with the infielders is going to help them stay a little bit more in the game, stay a little bit more alert. And I know a lot of us are using the bands too, but especially way out in the outfield, they're not always going to hear you. So having the infielders either relaying that to them this way or calling it out to them a second time is going to help them stay more involved with the rest of the game.
It also like forces you to communicate with your outfielder. Like as an infielder, you're literally forced to communicate with your outfielder, and it just kind of makes the team one unit. So I know there can be a lot of separation between infielders and outfielders, but that kind of helps them come together as well. Also, so with calling balls, we're going to talk about that a little bit in the outfield, but it's really important to be consistent with calling the ball. So like at Illinois, we all had to say mine. Like you couldn't say, one person couldn't say got it, one person couldn't say ball, ball, ball. Everyone had to say mine. It was a thing that we did. It was consistent. So make sure yours is consistent. Not saying that yours has to be mine or everyone's got to say the same thing. Like Andrea's team did something different. You can talk about that.
We at North Central, we had the outfielders said I got it, and the infielders said mine. So if you had an outfielder coming in behind an infielder, an infielder coming behind the outfielder where they can't necessarily see each other, they know that it's an outfielder versus an infielder because they can hear that different call. So it's going to be whatever works best for your team and your girls. Like I said, having that kind of consistency can be good, and then also knowing who's coming in and being a little more individualized can also be helpful, but it's whatever that you think your girls are going to respond best to. But again, we kind of don't just want it being, obviously we would rather have them say something than nothing at all, but getting kind of all on the same page and consistent calling is going to be super important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So just a drill to kind of work on balls in the air as an infielder. We would do short behind short. So this was like kind of like a conditioning drill, but also you're getting pop-ups and grounders. So can I get two girls? Pick 'em. Awesome. And can I get a ball? Okay, so they're pretty much working in pairs, and then essentially they're going for like 45 seconds, or you can make it the time whenever you want. 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute. Oh, hey, come back.
Where you going?
Okay. So it's going to be like one ball in the front, one behind them. So they're going back and forth, back and forth. So you're going to start in the front. Now you can either make this a ground ball in front of them or a little pop up in front of them where they have to run in and get it. We would do pop up. So give her like a short pop up, and then right away shoot her long way where she has to drop shot, go back on it, then come in on it, back and forth. Okay. Go ahead. Good. Watch out for
I'm at the garbage bin.
So then you're keep going, back and forth. Okay, you guys are good. So you get the point. So after a while, like you're tired, and you should be. You're out of breath. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't make this sprint again. But it's important also to like emphasize that the girls are challenging each other, pushing them, not just giving them little pop-ups. But that's a really good drill for working on balls behind. Triangle drill. So again, this is a drill that's great for communication, and you can work with your outfielders and your infielders on this. So you pretty much get in a triangle, and then
if we're just to keep everybody close, we're going to pretend that this is shortstop, this is third base, and this is left field.
But then you could also have a shortstop, second base, center fielder. You can have your second base, first base, right fielder. There's a lot of triangles in the infield. You can even have catcher, first base, and second base. And, like, there's a lot of ways you can do this, but you're throwing or hitting a ground ball in between all of them, and they have to communicate with each other and not let the ball drop. Again, this is something you can make competitive as well, turn it into a game. If you have like 3 groups going at one time, who's going to be the last group standing without having a ball drop? So that's a really good drill for communication and being consistent with your calling, making sure you're calling the ball, and infielders can work on balls behind and communicating with their outfielders.
Yeah, we just have them hitting, like if we're on a bigger scale here, I'd be hitting out here, and then have them all getting in a ready position, ready to go, and then saying as quickly as possible once they read it off the bat, getting them to call it out. So I'd have them come up here.
I got it!
Okay. And then also too, something important to note on this one is getting them, obviously we want them going aggressive to the ball, but then to avoid collisions and things like that, knowing when to back off. Like she obviously called it out really loud, that center field ball, or left field I guess in this case, for how I set it up. That's outfield ball in this case, and so obviously we don't want Haley keep on running straight into her, right? So once they hear that clear call and they know that's not my ball, getting them to back off and stop, but being close enough that if they need to make a pickup, if they drop or something, that they can be in that area still, but they're not coming too close that they're going to get in the way of the thrower, in the way of the fielder.
And so it's also like, I know this seems basic, but knowing who's got the right of way. So like if it's a ball between the outfielder and the infielder, the outfielder has the right of way, or if you have like shortstop and second base, kind of know who has the call or the right of way as well. Any questions? Are you guys having fun yet? Okay. Also, like I said it earlier with ground balls, girls can feed each other pop-ups too. Like you guys don't have to do all the work. You don't have to be hitting. They can feed pop-ups. So if you want to literally have girls working with girls at their position, have them throw pop-ups to each other. It's a super simple yet effective way of getting reps in. So, cool. Okay, now we're going to talk about stuff at the bag. So you have like tags at the bag, force place, all that stuff. So there's different types of techniques to do at the bag. So first we're going to talk about tags. So the biggest thing with tagging is you want to slap the girl really hard. You want to make them scared to slide up again. So like you are literally whacking them. Okay, so really emphasize that. So if I'm getting a ball and I'm tagging, I'm literally like that on the girl. Not only is that quick, but that scares them. And that's what I love to do. Sell it to the umpire too. I mean, the ump's going to be the one making the call. So if you're like hesitant, that ump's not going to be on your side. But if you're selling that and you're hitting it down quick, there's no way they're gonna miss that.
I think that's something too that is something that's not always taught and like emphasized a lot, and you'll see a lot of girls that don't come down really aggressively because they don't want to be that person that's smacking the other player being super aggressive. But that's what they have to do, and that's what we have to tell them right away, is that they really need to get down and go, because otherwise they might actually miss them, or the umpire might not see it straight away. So if they're super aggressive with that tag, more often than not, we're going to get that called on the runner that came in, especially too if you come down with it and then come up and show, yeah, I got her and I have the ball in my glove. That's going to be a much more convincing sell than just kind of, and then even going back to the double tag, stuff like that.
And then other points to stress, body position. So your body position at the bag. Your knees should be pointing at the runner. So if I'm here and I'm trying to tag, I have to turn my body, which takes time. But if my knees are pointed at the runner where they're coming in, that's just straight down. So kind of just positioning at the bag is really important. And you should get there before your runner's there. Okay? Also, your body position depends on where the throw is coming from. So if I'm getting a ball from the outfielder, I'm not gonna be in the same position as if I was getting a ball from the infielder. So usually, if I'm getting a ball from the outfielder, I'm there, and then I actually swipe down there. If I'm getting a ball here, I'm facing them, and then I come down there. I swipe hard.
That's what I've had to tell some of our girls during their tag drills, is that your feet are not glued to the ground. And that's a lot of times too, when they set up at a base, they tend to think that they need to stay there. and that their feet are fixed in that position and they're not really moving to the ball. So it is okay to move and set up for where the ball's coming in, or if it's a throw that's not directly on the target. It's more important to get the ball first and then adjust your position after that, versus standing here getting ready to get the tag and then freezing and trying to pull up and get that.
And then another like key when you're tagging someone is don't go out and get it, because that takes time. You're getting out and then you actually have to pull it in. Oh, this is nice, thank you. Let it come to you. Let the ball travel. Get it right here. Hopefully it's a good throw. If it's not, you got to go get it. But if it's on point and you're here, there. The less movement, the better, because the quicker it is. Now that I have a bag, notice how I'm out in front of the bag. I'm not here, because if I tag them, their foot could hit the bag before I reach them. So you're out in front and you're getting them before they even come close to that bag. And if you notice, I'm straddled here, not in the baseline, because you don't want to take a foot off. Yes. Boring day. Oh, okay, important. Yeah.
How do you teach receiving and catcher in the second base
On a steal? Okay, so like I'm a shortstop, I'm coming here. I would be here in front of the bag, and then I'd come here. So I'm like facing here. I also used to like sell it where like I'd pretended like the ball wasn't coming, and then I would come. But I definitely am here like in front of the bag. Sometimes I ran into issues behind the bag, and then not only am I risking it hitting the runner, but I'm also not reaching the ball, or like it's just not effective if I'm behind the bag. So making sure that they get out in front of here and then they're stepping in here.
I think I'm gonna add something.
Yeah.
Something really important too with tags that you'll see a lot with steals and then just tags in general is jump stopping to the base. So what you'll see a lot too when they get closer to that base, kind of similar to how some people do with base running, is as they get closer to approaching that base, you start to see the little baby steps. As they're doing a full out sprint here, and then as they get close to the base, they do this, right? So we want to emphasize when they're getting a ball from a steal or just getting a ball for tagging in general, as they're sprinting to that base, come over here quickly and then jump stop and plant at the base, so that they're not, like I said, slowing down and getting those quick little steps in, and that they're stopping in the exact position that they want to. So I'm going to touch this. But what we want to see, especially with tags and the jump stopping and everything else, is that we're making everything as game-like as possible, and that goes for every drill that we're talking about today. This is what we do in our practices when we have anything that involves a tag, is that every single time you tag, it has to be sold that hard. Because if it's not a game-like situation when you're in practice, if you're not thinking that every play is something that is going to make a difference in a game, you're not going to do it when it comes time for a game. Because it's not second nature, it's not something that you're constantly thinking about. So when it seems like something that's small, and I know a lot of what we're talking about is a little bit more fundamental, but if they're coming in and they're just kind of doing one of these tags and moving off to the next thing, it's going to transfer over into a game, versus if every single time they're coming down and selling it like
Even
that.
if it is your teammate.
Right. Come down and hit them and sell it. They'll get over it. They'll have a cool bruise and they'll get over it.
Another important thing for like stuff at the bag is counting steps. So like if you're a first baseman and you have someone taking leadoffs at first, it's good to know how many steps you are away from the bag so that you don't have to look for the bag when you're going back. So if I know like, okay, I'm 2 big steps, then I'm just taking my 2 steps and I'm here and I don't have to search for the bag. So that's kind of a little thing, but it can make a huge difference in the game. So some drills for tags. Again, like I've emphasized the whole time, is just having like your players do most of the work. So having the corners throw balls to the corners, or the middles throw balls to the middles at the bag. Giving them that responsibility. Something we did, which I thought was super awesome, was pitching machines. So instead of having the catcher throw out her arm, just set up 3 pitching machines, or 1 pitching machine, and that's going to be your throw. You can adjust the pitching machine up and down, make them do short hops, but essentially you have a catcher that's doing all the work for you, and all you have to do is feed. So that's kind of a nice way of getting lots of reps and not blowing out shoulders. So I recommend that. Yes.
Half the third baseman back to the bag. Right in front of the bag, they've got the steal in here. What's the half?
So, okay. So if this is third base, and I'm up here. So are you thinking this way or this way? I always open up towards the field. Wait, is this a leading off or a steal?
Should be a runner on second, stealing.
Okay, so that also depends. So I would take him here, and then I'm here. But if it's a lead off, then I'm turning towards them. Yeah.
Steal, you're turning.
So I'm turning towards the field, and I'm getting here.
I was gonna say have your body open to the runner,
Yeah.
so that you're always able to see her because that's the one that you're gonna want to play tag on.
Yes. And then rundowns. So drills to work on rundowns is like, because obviously rundowns come up in games. Having like a runner start between first and second, having someone start between third and home, and then you give the ball to anyone in your infield, and they have to kind of just make it work. So usually, obviously, your priority is the one runner between third and home, so you're attacking them. But then that other runner's still running as well. So if you get this out, you got to look to the next one as well. So that's a good one. Do we want to do it? Or
I just want to make a quick point.
okay,
Rundown, but I think
yeah.
But so if Allie's my runner at third base here, so if she's caught between third and home, do you have a ball? No. One big thing that can really make a huge difference, especially or with any runner, but especially with the runner coming between third and home, if I'm coming straight at her here, and this ties back into our lovely throws that we were talking about before, not only am I not wanting to crank back, I want to keep this ball right here and make a quick throw. But she sees that I have the ball, that I have the ball. So what I want to do with her is she's getting ready to run. I don't want her going towards home. And that seems like a really self-explanatory thing, but a lot of girls think, I want that runner, I'm running straight at her. But if I'm coming straight at you here and then you dip like that, that's a long way for me to tag. So what we want to really instill in every single girl when it comes to rundowns is that you're chasing the runner back to the base. So to where you want them to go. So obviously I don't want to chase her back towards home. I want to chase her back to where she came from at third. So I'm having the ball up here. She knows that I have the ball. I'm not cranking it back. I'm just right here, and I want to get that angle and get her back to the base so I can either tag or make a quick toss right back to third. Any questions on rundowns that you want us to address?
First and third plays. I know everyone runs those differently, and that's okay. But the biggest thing is just practicing the first and third plays. Like what we did was like we would have the shortstop cover and then second base come across. I don't know if that's what you guys do. But making sure that you're kind of just aggressive on the play. First and third plays usually end up failing because people are hesitant or they don't really know what to do because a lot of things can come up. So make sure you practice like every single situation that might come up in a first and third play. So,
and that's something that takes a ton of time because it does involve so much communication and there are so many different things that can happen with trick plays, whether the runner walks, falls down, trips, everything like that. So that's not something that's going to be covered in one kind of practice. I mean, it took us years to do it successfully, and it's something that we practice continuously because you have to get every infielder knowing exactly what they're doing. You have to get the timing right with the runners, and you have to be able to make those snap decisions. So it involves a lot of trust with your players, a ton of communication, and a ton of experience, practicing that over and over and over again. And it might be a situation that you face once a tournament, and we've had it come up where we see this happening constantly several times in a game. So being on the same page and having practiced that and mastered that time and time again is going to make it easier to do in a game-like situation, just like everything else. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. This, like I said, is something that took us a super long time to master. So I would say stick with the way that you think is going to be most effective and then practice that with every single scenario that you can come up with.
Next one, force plays. So again, at the bag, but you have like your positioning for double play balls for like the middle infielders, which also depends on where you're fielding. But I'm just gonna kind of go through the different ways that you can come off the bag and make a double play. So
You slide that back just a little bit.
yeah. This is good. Okay, so if I'm a shortstop getting it from second base, there's a couple ways. There's the one where it's left, right, left. So you're left, right, left. I didn't do that because I would trip myself, but basically the biggest thing is you want left, right, left, right, left. But notice how I'm getting out of the baseline. There's the swipe, which is kind of advanced and sometimes hard because what if you miss the bag? But again, it's left, right, left. So you're fielding it left, swiping, right, left, and throwing. But that one takes practice. So when you're doing double play balls, make sure that you're making them do that if that's what they do in the game.
Something to encourage with that too, if you do have somebody who prefers to drag the foot and swipe, a little trick with that too is because it can be easy if you're in a rush to sometimes miss the base, to kind of encourage that if they are going to drag it hard and pick up some dirt. So if they actually do miss the base, the umpire can't tell because you've really kicked up that foot and they're not sure if you hit that corner or not. So little kind of cheap way to get around that. If you do have somebody who prefers to drag and they find it quicker, to really get them kicking up that dirt. So even if they miss the bag by a little bit and they're coming through too quickly, they have no way of knowing.
Yes. Another one is like if the second baseman fields it in front of the baseline, you're not going to come out this way. You're going to come back on the side that they're fielding the ball. So then it's just a push off and you're here. But again, you're still out of the baseline. But notice everything I was doing was left, right, left. So just keeping that consistent. But it changes. Yeah, true. Sorry to generalize. But it changes depending on where the ball's hit. So make sure you practice different types of balls for your girls. And then if I'm a second baseman, so this kind of changes as well. So there's the push off. If I'm getting a ball from shortstop, again, I'm left, I'm pushing off, right, left, and I'm here. Out of the baseline, no way am I gonna get slid into. If I'm getting a ball from third base for a double play ball, I'm going out and I'm getting that. So I'm here, left, right, left. Okay, so I'm not waiting behind the bag for that one. I'm getting it, left, right, left. And if it's a shortstop, I'm here. Questions on that? But again, I'm using the bag as a push off, I'm getting out of the baseline, and I'm using left, right, left pretty consistently. There's also, if you get advanced, I'll just share it. There's the one where you're fielding it, and then you're throwing it on the bag. So it's like very quick, but that one takes a lot of practice too. But it's still left, right, left, but then you're throwing it on the bag. Any questions on that? Okay, so then like drills, again, just getting them reps, doing double play balls, just rolling them. The players can do that for themselves. You don't need to be there. And then also where you catch the ball is important on these, and I know it seems super simple and obvious, but like if I'm getting a ball low here, I'm not gonna catch it here because that takes time to bring it up. If I'm getting a ball low, I'm catching it under here and I'm grabbing it up here. If I'm catching a ball high, I'm not gonna catch it here, I'm gonna catch it here. But that's like really important on your double play balls because you don't have a lot of time because it's boom boom. So that makes a huge difference. So making sure that they're fielding it correctly or catching it correctly based on where the ball is thrown. Questions on double plays?
Do you have a rule of thumb as to how far you can cheat the bag, or does it depend on the pitch and or hitter?
Pitch and hitter. So I did cheat, but it was only on the pitch. I wouldn't cheat if there was a runner on first. But I loved it when like I had a righty up and it was an outside pitch, then I could cheat to second base. So I would cheat on the pitch, but I wouldn't cheat just because there was a runner on first. Because then my priority is getting that ball. Because if they call an inside pitch, I have to go here, and I can't. I have to kind of give that up because I don't want to give up the 5-6 hole. Did that answer your question? Okay.
All right, so we have some team drills to kind of wrap up with the infield portion, and then once we go through some of these, some will demonstrate, some will just explain really quickly, so then we can get a little bit of break in between the infield and the outfield, have you guys ask some questions if you need to, and then we'll roll into the second portion. Sound good?
Okay, so these ones are like team drills that make this infield stuff competitive and fun, and kind of you could throw like push-ups on the line or sit-ups or any of that. But first one's puke drill. So that one, I feel like we've heard of it, but we can demonstrate puke drill because that one doesn't take up a lot of space. Essentially,
Yes.
puke drill, that's a great name for it. You want them to do.
So the way that we have this one set up, so you have one person. Okay, so come back. And you three spread out just a little bit. Okay, so each person is going to have a ball here, and you can do this with a partner. I think most effective way to do it would be with a partner, but just for demonstration purposes, we're going to have them all three throwing. So the point of this is to get them diving effectively and pushing off at a moment's notice. So what she's going to do, we're going to set a timer. If you want to be really cruel, 2 minutes. We usually do it for just about 1 minute. So what she's going to have to do is you're going to go ahead and toss it out here so that she has to dive and go get it. So once we start the timer, you're going to go ahead and toss it to her. Yeah. So she has to push off and dive and go get it. She'll toss it right back. And then a short little one right up the middle. Dive and go get. And then right back up. And then off to the other side. Push off. Dive and go get. Good job. And so we're going to be rolling with this the whole time, non-stop. So she's going to go again and push off and have to dive from this way out. Good job. And get up. And up the middle. Good. And then back up and on the other side. So if they're doing this with just a partner, the one person in front is just going to be tossing to all directions. Thanks. Good job. But again, love this one just because it forces to push them to their limits. And then the person who's tossing, or the people that are tossing with this one, really, really, really should be encouraging them to keep going because it's a really physically and mentally taxing drill. Especially when you're outside and you're getting mud and grass and stuff all over you and wind's getting knocked out of you and all that. It's really good to have your teammates challenging you and encouraging you through that. And I would say the biggest thing is just make sure that they're making those tosses challenging. On every single one, you're not making them better if you're just giving them easy tosses.
Yeah. And also, like, if they don't need to dive, make sure that they're not just diving to dive. Like, if they can get the ball without diving, make sure they're doing that. So, kind of enforce that as well. Next one is bomb drill. So this one you get in, like, you don't have to demonstrate it, but, like, I guess you could use, like, this square. So they just be this big square right here, the second cones. Essentially, you have like 8 balls. A coach can be doing this one, and you're in the middle, and you're throwing these balls anywhere in this square. And you have one girl, and her job is to catch that ball before it lands. And it's 10 balls. You're going all out diving, and you're huffing and puffing at the end. So that's usually a good one. The next one, we're gonna go through these a little bit. Eye drill. So this is something simple I did in college. We had every single player on the team lining up at third, and you had to field, every single person in that line had to field a clean ground ball before moving over to shortstop. Now that sounds really easy, but it's hard because you have like your outfielders and you get nervous because you're the last one up, and if your team doesn't move on until everyone fields it cleanly. So it's a really good competitive drill. Everyone's like in it with each other and you're encouraging. So that one's a good one to end practice as well. And then there's a line eye drill. So this one, you have everyone in their position, and you have to go through like a fly ball to left, fly ball to center, fly ball to right, grounder to third, grounder to shortstop, grounder to second base, grounder to first, grounder to pitcher, no error. And you keep doing it until you get perfection, essentially. So if someone made an error, let's say it got to me, and I made an error, we would have to drop our gloves, run to the fence, come back, start all over. So you did that until we went through it cleanly. Again, it sounds easy, but pressure's on. So adding pressure to game-like it makes it more game-like, and actually just more effective for the girls. Third and shortstop drill. What did I mean by that? Yeah, I don't know what I meant by that. Sorry. situations. So just working with different situations with the girls, making pressure. So like, I remember with Coach Hill, it would always be like, top of the seventh, we got a runner on third. This is, you know, the national championship. Like putting pressure on your defense and then seeing if they could still perform. So just, or adding like, okay, if we don't get to 10 outs right now, we're gonna do 2 laps or whatever. Just making situations more competitive. 21 outs, getting 21 outs without an error. And then UCLA drill. So this is what I did in college as well. It's situations. So for example, the first hit would be a bunt going to first base. The second hit was a double play ball. The third hit was a fly ball to center field, and they had to throw a runner out at home. So it was like different situations, and that it changed, but the girls knew what the situation was. So it was just kind of, I don't know, a competitive drill too, and it keeps everyone moving. If you have questions, let me know. I'm going really fast, I realize, but we've done a long time right now. Team versus team, this one's a good one. So you have, basically you split the team equally in half. We had a lot of girls, so I don't know if we could do that, but the team goes out there, they go until they make an error. Let's say they got up to 12 outs, well then the next team has to beat that somehow. So that's a good one. Base runners, making sure like you add base runners for situations and not just kind of going through the motions. It's good to go through the motions because you want to make sure the girls know where they're going, but then you also want to add base runners to make it more game-like and actually what could come up in a game, because you won't get that element without the base runners. Anything you want to add? Around the world. So this one you have everyone start at third base, and then you're a hitter and you're pretty much hitting them around the world. So like a grounder kind of by shortstop, so they're going and getting it. Then from shortstop, they're getting a ball up the middle. Then from there, they're getting a ball at second base. So like they go around the world, and then they kind of hang out, and then the next person goes around the world. Does that make sense? So getting a lot of reps. And then that was it.
Any questions on those drills? And like I said, anything
I
that
went
you
through them
want us
really
to
fast, but if you
clarify
want
after.
me to talk to you individually about it, I will. But those are really cool drills to just kind of make things competitive.
Andrew, before we break, Allie, either one, would you please go through just the basics of the rundown?
Yeah.
Okay, from throwing to the line of sight to following the throw. Just take us through that very basically, quickly, so that we get that on tape.
Can I get a runner?
Give me 1 second, guys.
So there's like a couple elements in rundowns that you have to do. The first thing is like the receiver is creeping towards the runner to kind of close the gap. So you're closing the gap, but what I see sometimes in girls, they're running to close the gap, okay? But it's more of like a creep. It's like this. You're slowly closing the gap. And then while the person with the ball has the dart in their hand, or the softball in her hand, she's sprinting. So she's sprinting, the other girl's creeping. Sometimes we get that mixed up. But
So I think it's really important because a lot of times when they hear close the gap, close the gap, close the gap over and over again, like she said, it can get really tempting for them to, if I'm not the first ball, for me to be like this. And then if she decides to, if that cone is my base, if she decides to turn around and go, either she's going to run into me and I don't have the ball, or I'm going to get the ball and turn around and try to tag her and she's already back to the base. So closing the gap is really important to try to narrow where she can go and eventually tag her out. But I don't want to be standing here flat-footed, and I also don't want to be charging at her when I don't have the ball.
yeah, okay, so then as I'm creeping, she's running at me with the dart, and you want to create a lane. So the lane's going to be on the throwing side of the person throwing the ball. So I'm going to step out a little bit so I could get a nice throwing lane, and we don't hit the runner. But as she's sprinting, I'm creeping, and I say ball. But usually, I know this is slow motion, so it's hard, but I call for a ball when I want the ball. And I usually, I don't know, do it like with like 3 feet in front of me. And you want the least amount of throws as possible. Going back and forth, like that's a runner's dream. you're more likely to make an error. So try to cut it off. You can even get it in one throw if you close the gap hard enough and throw it at the right time. But we could go through like a fast version of it. You want to do that? We won't hit you. Okay. So, like creating the gap, so I threw on my throwing side. I'm now running and following on my throwing side. And I'm ready to get the ball again. Questions specifically on the rundown that we didn't cover? Okay. We had a couple ending thoughts before we break.
Then we'll send you guys a break.
Basically, like the biggest thing for all the drills we went through is like to make it competitive. You don't get anything out of the drill if you just go through the motions. Add pressure to it, make it game-like, make it fun. That's when you get better. So really, really, really want to emphasize that.
So not even just within the competitive drills that we have lined up, but in the more kind of repetitive ones, we really want all of our girls to be on the same level, right? And so that was something too that me as a pitcher, you know, I wasn't as good as Allie in fielding because I spent most of my time in the princess circle. But seeing my teammates be successful on routine ground balls and our drills that weren't necessarily competitive in times like that made me want to be up to their level, because I'm like, oh wow, like I know I'm a pitcher, but I know that I can't field ground balls like that at this time, so I want to get better and I want to step up my game. So really reinforcing to not just get down and give up on things if they're not as skilled in a certain position, that we want them to all challenge each other and make each other better. So it doesn't necessarily have to be through those competitive drills, even though that is a good way, but really trying to instill in them that they should, even if that's not their primary position, that they should want to be up to the standard that the rest of their teammates are setting for them.
Yeah. And like the only way you're gonna learn is if you go hard and you make those mistakes. And if you wait to go hard in the game and then you make the mistake, that kind of, I don't know, you don't learn that way. You want to learn in practice. You want to go all out, push your limits. That way you can become a better ball player. A big thing, like we talked about, is like hitting obviously makes you need a hit to be good, but hitting is very individualized. So someone could go up, be a good hitter. They don't need their team to do that. But defense, you do. It's like what makes a good team, what makes a good unit. So like defense is very important if you want to reach that extra level. Like there's nothing cooler than seeing a defense out there that's solid, knows their stuff, and is like all on the same page. It's really cool to watch. So kind of, I feel like hitting a lot is emphasized, and like you need to be a good hitter, which is so true. But to be a good team, you need to have good defense. We also talked about like knowing and trusting your defense. So like, you know, every single girl out there, you know how they play, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, just trusting that, and knowing that like they're gonna have your back no matter what. So just kind of really emphasizing that in your girls and instilling that culture, I think, is important. And then like really enforcing the girls to like make everyone around them better. Andrea was saying it earlier, like when she saw like the infielders going hard, like she wanted to go hard. So it's like contagious. So if you're going hard, you're making it competitive, you're having fun, like that's contagious, and the girls will like catch on, and it's fun that way. That's what softball's about. So just always try to make the people around you better. And then we talked a lot about like celebrating the little things. So like it was so much fun, like playing infields with like in the Sluggers, like we would have a handshake with every single person. We had like an out call, so like we're doing crazy things when there's 2 outs. Like seeing that, like again, like I said earlier, it makes it fun, but it also just creates that bond between the girls. So really try to like force those little successes and have them celebrate the little things, because it makes a big difference in the end.
It makes it so much more of a relaxed environment, and like me as a pitcher, I know that if I turn around and, like I said, have my girls behind me that I do all these kind of silly things with, it makes it a lot more of a game and much less of a situation where I'm putting every single bit of pressure on myself possible. And that's the same too for any other position player. So there's going to be times where you have girls in the defensive positions in the infield that they're not used to playing. And that can be really scary for them, especially a position like third base or first base where they're right up in there. It can be really intimidating. It can be really scary for them to play that for the first time. So if they have a cohesive unit out there that's lifting them up, that's using price, that's using those kind of silly things like that to help them stay calm and stay relaxed, they're not going to have that target on them like, oh my God, what if the ball comes to me? I'm terrified, right? It's going to be that more relaxed environment that they know and that they've practiced in all the time. So I think that's, again, really important, why it's so important that during these defensive drills, even if someone is primarily an outfielder, guess what? In high school, they might have to come around and be an infielder. Or guess what? Your shortstop might get hurt, heaven forbid, and have them have to step in at that time. So having them being super competitive, even if that's not their primary position, is always to their advantage. I'll segue into why I'm talking about outfield. Perfect example is I've always been a pitcher, but in high school I had 3 pitchers ahead of me that were going to start ahead of me. So what did I have to do? I had to play the outfield. I had to get good at outfield because I wanted to play. So I got really good at outfield because I wanted to be able to have a position when I wasn't pitching, which wasn't going to happen for me. So I was confident in my outfield skills because we practiced it every single practice all the time. I said, I don't know, I think you can put me anywhere. I said, I just want to play. So that's something that we need to have with all of our girls, that if they are thrown into a situation in our team or in their high school team or wherever it is, that they're able to step up and they say, yeah, I've never played there before, but I'm confident in it. You can throw me in there. I know how to play this position. I do it all the time. Stuff like that, and have them being that confident in themselves because they've done it day in and day out in our practices, and that we've built that culture that says that they can, and that their teammates know that they can as well, and building that strong defense.